the thread from National Security Analyst Sam Vinograd, who served in the Treasury Department under President Bush and as a security advisor for President Obama as well. So she has bipartisan history. That's an end to her credentials. Let's engage with her thread. She says, let's talk about presidential readouts. After a president engages with a foreign leader, in person or on the phone, video conference or VTC, a readout of that meeting is prepared for the presidential record. At least one person is always assigned as a note taker. If it's a call, staff in the situation room, sit room, is assigned to take notes during the call. Others who have been authorized to listen to the call may have notes to compare the sit room notes to. They compare these notes to prepare a final memo of the conversation. The readout, transcript or memcon, is proofread by those authorized to be on the call, i.e. Senior Director for European Affairs would usually be on a call with a European leader. Then the NSA, National Security Advisor, approves it to file for the record. National Security Council, NSC, lawyers should be called immediately if something dangerous, unethical, or potentially illegal happens in the call or meeting. You don't have to wait for the formal written readout. The National Security Advisor is on every call, or at least was in her day, and has the ability to pass POTUS a note or pass a message in some other way if the president is doing something illegal. The distribution can be limited, and remember, only those who have a need to know classified information, including meeting readouts, should get the readout. So why am I reading this out loud? Because it's important for us to recognize the gravity of Trump's departure from norms, departure from process, departure from laws. So the Presidential Record Act is a law, and he evidently has a lot of cronies who have been prepared to help him break the law and who have been hiding from American agencies the details of what Trump has said, what Trump has promised, what Trump has agreed to in conversations with other foreign leaders. So to continue to the thread, the distribution can be, I read that bit. Relevant United States officials need readouts in order to do their jobs. Arbitrarily limiting readouts to hide wrongdoing hamstrings their ability to work on behalf of the American people. So Trump is a national security threat because he is negating the power and might of the American government by hiding things from the people whose very job it is to work to protect the American people. So Barr pretends to have not heard about the Zelensky call until weeks afterwards. Hey, people on Periscope, could you let me know how the volume is? Because I am not as close as I usually would be. Hang on, what if I lean more forwards? What's the volume like, folks? There's 8 people listening, so that means there might be some volume. Fingers crossed. All right. While the final written readout is being prepared, the National Security Advisor should give a verbal readout to key counterparts like the Secretary of State, the Director of National Intelligence, or the Attorney General, the Department of Defense, or authorize a member of his team to do that. So the National Security Advisor should have called Barr right after the Zelensky call. And maybe they did, and Barr just won't tell the truth. Barr should have recused himself from the investigation. Barr should have recused himself from anything to do with the whistleblower complaint. Instead, he let his department say, you know what, this complaint doesn't need to go any further. Nobody needs to see that stuff. Congress don't need to see it. We don't need to abide by the law that says complaints, whistleblower complaints that have been deemed to be credible and urgent by the Inspector General have to be passed to Congress within 7 days. So Barr said to the Director of National Intelligence, or the Acting Director of National Intelligence, Joseph Maguire, nope, I'm saying no to that. my Department of Justice office, which I've corrupted to do my bidding rather than conform to the law, we're all saying no. This whistleblower's complaint can go in this special shoebox that I've prepared. All right. Yes. So officials need to be able to follow up on the call appropriately and not to just hear about it from foreign governments or foreign intel collection. After a presidential meeting with a foreign counterpart, the process is similar. Someone in the meeting itself should have been assigned to take notes, i.e. someone in the 2017 Lavrov-POTUS meeting should have prepared a formal MEMCOM, an accurate one. Isn't it amazing that Trump managed to meet Lavrov, Russian ambassador, in the Oval Office the day after firing Comey and say, I've ended that threat to my political tenure. I have, you guys should all know that I'm fine with what you did. Thanks for doing that. You helped me gain office. And with the implication being, let's do it some more. That's a bit shocking for some people to realize out in the open that Trump acknowledged Russian interference existed. He has stoutly denied it for so long, contradicting American intelligence agencies and saying, I don't think Russia interfered. Yep. To the outsider, it seems weird, like who would even give any credibility to that statement by Trump at all? Who would give any credibility to Trump as he stood next to Putin with his body language all hunched over and said, yeah, Putin told me he didn't do it, so I believe him. Why would he have done it? To know that prior to that, he openly acknowledged to the Russian ambassador to the US that interference happened. And let's not call it interference either. Let's call it Russian attacks. Interference sounds like your grandma trying to mess up your love life by saying, don't date that boy, he's no good for you. No interference. It is an attack. It is an ongoing attack. Robert Mueller tried to make some noises about it, but he appears to be incapable of expressing himself simply and engagingly. He got lawyer speak so bad up to his eyeballs, and we don't even know anymore if that's just a function of who he is or if he is internally conflicted about having a Republican president who's such a traitor. Because he's friends with William Barr, which is weird, and he's friends with some actor who was in The Great Escape, who is very pro-Trump. Yes. All right. So the MEMCOM relating to the 2017 Trump-Lavrov meeting should have been filed for the presidential record. Because the president decided to declassify sensitive intelligence during that meeting about an intelligence operation, the classification of that memo would have been tricky. Do we remember what Trump revealed? He just started to talk about an Israeli intelligence op, and he just told the Russians that. So he betrayed Israeli intelligence officers and potentially jeopardized their lives. Washington Post reports that POTUS said he wasn't concerned about Russian election attacks during that meeting. So, yes, because the American team has been working to stop Russian attacks, but the President of the United States acknowledged and greenlit them. Go right on ahead, boys. Keep attacking my country. I'm not really here to represent my country. I'm here to fill my pockets as efficiently and as effectively I can, and to redesign democracy so that it's just all about me getting to park my well-padded butt. Oh, that's hypocritical. To park my butt in this Oval Office as long as I can, because it's not a leadership position to me. It's a get out of jail card, and it's an enrich myself card. So all my family members will be trading off the might and significance of historical associations with the American government, the nature of America as a global superpower. My family will all be trying to enrich ourselves with that, get out of whatever debt it is that we owe to Russia. And sure, our businesses may have taken a hit because we are now really, really hated around the world. But at the same time, lots of foreign governments know that to advance their cause, they have to stay at my properties. They have to help me violate the Foreign Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. i.e. accepting payment from foreign countries. How bizarre is it that Trump has gotten away with that for so long? And hopefully all the pieces are coming together in the minds of those people in the American public that aren't brainwashed to the far right. That should be a lot of people, because Americans were complacent. Americans didn't want to engage. Americans wanted to believe that their system worked, that their democracy had safeguards to exclude tyrants from office. And yet, those safeguards failed. And it's hard to acknowledge failure, particularly when you've been enculturated since birth in your schooling system in an attitude that says America is exceptional. How hard is it to go, America is just as good as Germany was, when Hitler traded off 30% of gleeful racist ideas, triumphant denunciations of Jewish people, to say we will improve Germany by expelling Jews and harassing and persecuting Jews because they are a significant problem for our society. In the same way that Trump has pushed the idea that Mexicans are a problem, are collectively criminals and rapists. Beto O'Rourke stresses that, and it sounds bad to amplify his propaganda, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge it for what it is. It's a way of exploiting the baser parts of human nature. It's a way of exploiting ignorance, fear, anxiety, and hatred. A willingness to say, I need people to be all the same skin color and religion as me before I can securely feel that we're on the same team. I get edgy when I turn on the news or entertainment programs and I see people with diverse skin color, because I am insufficiently socialized to the idea that modern societies find strength in uniting around civilized principles of cooperation, of legal migration, of help for asylum seekers who are desperate, so that legally in America you're allowed to apply for asylum once you're in America, regardless of how you got there. I don't amplify the messages or the time-wasting ridiculousness of trolls. So because I am simultaneously broadcasting to YouTube, is anybody on YouTube? I think I'll just have to try and open it myself. Dun, dun, dun. Hopefully I'm all logged in and I can check, because I just want to check that the volume is on that. I noticed somebody with the handle of Donald Jail Time has joined. Cool handle. Cool handle. It would be nice to get Donald in jail, and what has to happen before then though? He has to be removed from office some way or another, because he enjoys the indefensible protection of a legal memo that was first written in 1974 to protect Nixon, that says a sitting president cannot be indicted. All right. It is a crappy memo, and it's been contradicted by other subsequent memos, but some people feel bound to uphold it, which is a shame, because Donald Trump is a national security risk. And for people who think it's destabilizing to impeach Trump or indict Trump, gosh, I think it's far more destabilizing to allow Russia to have readouts and transcripts of conversations between the US president and the Russian president than to have that knowledge before American counterparts do, than it is to point out that Trump's a criminal. Oh, look, now that says live now. So we click on that and we see if there's any volume happening. Thanks for bearing with me. I'm always still experimenting on how to best do this. I have the intention of growing my skills as an amateur an amateur armchair analyst, and someone who is deeply concerned about the direction of American politics. Deeply concerned that if we don't get the fascists out of power around the world, we will have some massive problems. The problem we have is that if we can't get the fascists out of office, we can't get the criminal, corrupt, vested interests out of office, we cannot collectively face up to and act towards preventing the greatest existential threat that humanity has ever encountered, namely that all of our technological prowess, all of our success and achievement as a species is undermined by the side effects of that success. That we've invented things, we've invented energy sources, but those energy sources have side products of gases that go into the atmosphere, envelop the earth, trap heat, and start to cook all of our futures. Are cooking people right now. There's increased migration around the world because of the impact of climate change, the impact on crops. So farmers suffering from crop failure are trying to move so that they don't starve to death. People whose access to water is drying up are also prompted to move. To escape certain death, yes, people will flee. And this problem has already begun to escalate and will continue to escalate. So Trump is putting forward cruelty as an answer to that. And to some anxious people who are less capable of rational thought, that would seem like a viable possibility. They want to reconfigure civilized Western societies in a way that puts a greater focus on self-interest and less of a focus on morality and justice and fairness. And what they don't realize when they want to promote self-interest more is the same thing that 30% of Germans failed to realize, that indiscriminately pursuing self-interest and disparaging morality and humanity doesn't work in the long term. It creates wars. It creates people who will ultimately step up to huge industrial level murder and concentration camps and all of those type of negative outcomes of fascism, when you start to say we can solve our problem by isolating particular groups in camps or expelling them or putting them on another side of a wall so that when they flee starvation, they can just come up against a wall and starve and perish and die of thirst at that wall. That is not an effective solution to climate change, because climate change isn't just going to be restricted to impacts on poorer countries either. That type of selfish, self-promoting mindset is very limited in its ability to contend with the huge impact of climate change. So that yes, even when it hits poorer countries first and harder, even when it hits countries that are more dependent on agricultural products harder because their climate has been disrupted and they have less agricultural output. Guys, don't come in just so no, darling. I will be 1 minute and I'll come and join you, okay? I'm just going to conclude by saying, concluding, baby girl, but that it will hit us. It will affect us. Our ability to grow crops and eat will be significantly impacted going forwards. It's not just sea level rise. It's not just increased tornadoes, number and frequency of tornadoes and hurricanes. Climate change, under-addressed climate change, imperils all of our lives and the lives of our children. That is my concluding remarks for today. Namaste. Thank you and goodbye.